Welcome back to Small Caps. My name's Kerry Stevenson. Delighted. Happy New Year, even though it's February already. We're back talking to Keren Paterson, who is the Managing Director of Trigg Mining. Now, for some of you that might have, this might be new for you. So the ASX code, check it out, is TMG. Keren Paterson, welcome back to Small Caps. Great to see you. I think the last time we spoke was a couple of months before Christmas. You were busy. Lots has happened since then, and so we're here today really to talk about the fact that you're drilling right now, and let's just talk about what's happened over Christmas and going forward, what people can expect in 2021.
Great, thanks for having me, Kerry. Can't wait to talk about it.
Well, let's start with the drilling, because there was a little bit of an interruption. I think it was coming into Christmas. While the rest of you were relaxing, Keren was very, very busy, but there was bad weather that gave it a bit of an interruption. Can we just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and we did start the air-core drilling program, which are the first deeper holes into Lake Throssell, and that was in early December. And then we had a rain event which dropped about 85 mils of rain on our project, which just made it a little bit too difficult for us to navigate the terrain. It is a drainage system. So with Christmas, we packed up after 16 holes, mind you. So all of those results, all those assays went to the lab, and we announced the results of that in January. And we're now back out there drilling. So after a bit of a break over Christmas and getting everyone back onto the rig, they're out there and full steam ahead.
So the weather's gone away, full steam ahead. How much more drilling will you be doing?
We're planning to do another 22 holes. We did 16 before Christmas. So on the back half now of the program. Now,
with Lake Throssell, there hasn't been any historical drilling. This is very much new terrain. And what are you finding, and why? For those of people that don't know very much about Trigg, let's just do a little bit of the back history to it, just briefly, and why you're so, because I know you're excited about the project and what's out there.
Well, when I started Trigg, it's really about building mines communities can be proud of. I'm a mining engineer, and the exploration process is about gathering the data. And Lake Throssell was potentially a high-grade sulphate of potash project, and that is about fertiliser. It's about the food supply and food security, and Australia imports all of its potash needs at the moment. So, there's a whole bunch of economic reasons to do this, but also from an ESG perspective to be looking at a project like this from a mining perspective. And we can potentially supply the world with a very clean source of sulphate of potash. So in the work that we've been doing, and the listing not last year anymore now, in 2019, end of 2019, is all about exploring two SOP projects around about 170 to 200 kilometres east of Laverton. And just after listing in early 2020, we announced a resource on our other project at Lake Raisin. And Lake Throssell was a high-grade discovery. So we're putting all of our energy into Lake Throssell at the moment to explore it. And you're quite right, Kerry, there's never been any exploration on this tenement before. So all of our work is very greenfields. We started out just with a hand auger program, because you can see the picture of the salt lake behind me. You can fly a helicopter around it quite easily and drill some shallow holes and sample the water, because the minerals are in the water table.
Right.
So, which comes right up very close to the surface. So drill a little short hole down to 2 metres, sample the water, and identified up to 14,800 milligrams per litre sulphate of potash, which is a high-grade SOP resource. So after that, and all with COVID and everything in 2020, we still managed to get out there in July and do a heli-supported program into the Sufficial aquifer that backed that story up. So everything that we're doing is testing the hypothesis that we've got a high-grade SOP project out there. And it's also of scale. So we've got 985 square kilometres of tenure at Throssell, and that covers about a 70-kilometre strike length of the palaeovalley system that we're targeting. So this is all about hypersaline, potassium-rich brine sitting in that palaeovalley within the lake and underneath the lake, feeding the lake. So it's all about building up the story, and the next phase of that story was to drill the deeper holes. The air core program is drilling down to about 100 metres,
Right.
and identifying geologically what the environment is that water is sitting in. So we're looking for, what does this valley look like? And then ultimately how much we'll be able to pump out, and then how fast we can pump it out as well, because that drives your production rate.
Now, for those people out there that are saying, oh my gosh, it's the water table, environmental issues, et cetera, this is high salt, briny water. This is nothing that you can do anything with. Am I correct?
Very much so. It is super saturated with salts. So super saturated that's how you get the salt lake, is that the salts have precipitated out and formed the salt lake environment. So over millions of years, the water has come in from the desert, dissolving these potassium-rich rocks. And what stays in the water is the electrolytes, so the salts. So you get sodium, chloride, sulphate, and potassium in our case, and some magnesium as well. And all of that stays in the water. And that's what we're looking for. So it's we're not talking about drill and blast and big open pits and waste dumps. We are looking for a water resource that we can pump out and then solar evaporate to produce the salts and ultimately a sulphate of potash product.
Is there more than just the sulphate of potash product? I mean, you mentioned magnesium. Can you actually create more than one product from this particular area?
Yeah, it's all, as I said, it's all electrolyte. So there is potential for other byproducts. Primarily, the project needs to be supported on the economics of the SOP. That's the target. But after that, when we're in production and exploring other ways to increase the revenue, these projects can last for a really long time. So there's opportunity for us to explore what we can do with what we're not selling at that point, but it's still an electrolyte. So it could be another fertilizer like a magnesium, it could be an Epsom salts, and there's even sodium chloride. So, we've got plenty of material. We'll have plenty of material to explore what those opportunities are.
Keren, you mentioned earlier that at the moment, Australia imports all of its sulphate of potash. Why hasn't anyone done what you're doing right now before?
I think as a mining engineer, my path was all about learning how to blast rock and move rock. And I think we've been very focused on that as our mineral resource. So my entire degree was about hard rock mining with a little bit of coal, but in Western Australia, we weren't all that interested at the School of Mines in learning much about coal, but it was very much hard rock, gold, nickel, copper, all iron ore, particularly in Western Australia. So it's been a bit of a thought process shift for an industry to form and a subsector of the industry. There's about 5 companies that are either looking to developing and heading into production in sulphate of potash, predominantly in Western Australia. And it is something new because, and also the Australian Geoscience provided a report a number of years ago now when this really did start that showed the prospectivity of the salt lakes and the brine systems, and that really helped drive exploration in this space.
You mentioned before that you are proud of building mines that communities can be proud of. Are you getting support from the WA government for some of this that you're doing right now, or is it purely, no, we're just out at Lake Throssell doing what we do?
There is great interest from the WA government. One of those drivers is around diversification of our economy. And from our perspective, the value around what the government is currently doing is bitumising our road that's going to go past our mine gate. So, and that road is a great central road which connects through Northern Territory into Queensland, and the 3 state governments are planning to do that. And they're very active out there at the moment, expanding the area of bitumen, so that we anticipate we'll have a highway at our mine gate very soon.
At your mine gate, that's awesome. That's actually that must be a big tick as well for the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about logistics. It's a bulk commodity, nowhere near the scale of iron ore. It's a niche product, but it is a volume product. So we do need to have a transport solution. And for us, coming down a bitumen road into Leonora, the railhead there, or wherever it's going to go, just being the fact that we'll have a bitumen road there will make a huge difference to our the economics of the project.
You are a mining engineer, so it's all about process. Can we talk big picture here? Because for those people that are current shareholders, or those people that are watching and thinking, well, Trigg Mining, as I said before, ASX code TMG, what's the bigger picture in terms of getting the project? Because I know it's still early days, but sometimes people have expectations that, you know, tick a box and off you go into production. It's not that. So let's just give them a little bit of context.
There needs to be a lot of work done around that data gathering and then analysis. And because Australia hasn't got a lot of experience in this, we do really need to go through the proper process of defining the resource and increasing the confidence in the resource. So taking it to an inferred resource, then measured and indicated, and then going through from an economic and engineering perspective, all the potential options that may be on the table as well, and how we go about processing this, because there is no blueprint as such. We need to work all of that out. So we do need to do evaporation trials and really understand the chemistry as well, and make sure that we build the right project. So we do need to go through those scoping, pre-feasibility and feasibility phases. But with doing that, it's all about getting it right up front. And we've got this great advantage being a second mover in the space. We have 2 peers developing projects at the moment. And so we're able to learn some of the good bits and some of the bad bits and the things that we can avoid as we move forward. So we anticipate that we'll be able to build quite a robust project when we get that resource.
Now, we've spoken a lot about Lake Throssell. You have 2 projects, there's Lake Raisin as well. Is all the focus on Lake Throssell at the moment?
Right now, predominantly the focus is at Throssell, but there is a 6 million tonne resource already there at Lake Raisin with potential to expand that. We're looking at how we can do this as a regional project and not try and duplicate infrastructure. So looking at how perhaps, you know, we put the production hub at Throssell being a higher grade project and transport a concentrate or a salt or whatever it might be up to Throssell for a final product. So if at this stage, Lake Raisin looks like it's our sort of phase 2 or phase 3 of an expansion program there at Throssell. But we just need to work out what we've got there at Throssell, and then we can work out exactly where we'd be putting our final plant.
So, Keren, before we finish up, why do you think now is a really good time for investors to be sitting up and taking notice of Trigg Mining? Well,
every managing director says their company's really cheap, but I think we are really cheap. We've got $3 million in the bank. We're out there exploring. This is very early stage exploration, but it's potential to be quite a substantial project. And, you know, we really believe in what we're doing and what we've got out there. And I'm serious about building mines and building ones that we're all really proud of. So it's an exciting time for me to be out there and to have the guys out there. They're working incredibly hard on the lake to make this happen. And I'm very excited about what we're looking forward to.
Well, I can tell you are. And as you said earlier in this, you want to build mines communities can be proud of. And I think that that's a great thing that you're doing. So congratulations, keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you again in a couple of months and see how it's all going. Thanks for joining us on Small Caps today.
Great, thanks very much, Keren.